yesterday's lesson, I think went really well considering that we haven't talked about coordinate planes as in maps before, so you had to make that connection. So like, okay guys, remember, oh yeah, so it was a little bit, what I basically was looking at was that I don't think there was enough lead-in, enough introduction, enough.
I did that again, and after I did my briefing on what I did, I was like, I did it again. So today I was like, make sure you at least introduce what you're doing.
Yeah, and we did. And the video of the introduction, good stuff. All right. Do you have any other questions? Because we have about 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. Maybe yesterday's lesson. We can talk about it a little more.
All right. Yesterday's lesson was the coordinates lesson.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we talked about it for 5 seconds.
Yeah, because we talked about the introduction.
Got sidetracked because I was not impressed with myself today.
So, but yesterday didn't go too bad. And again, we were talking about coloring and labeling, and so the kids were a little bit more into it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot easier to see after I closed the drapes.
Yeah.
The glare was just crazy. The one thing that I would have done is, step by step how we're going to label it before we started putting the coordinate points in. So like halfway through you'd only done a couple of points, and he said, oh, well, let's label this north and east.
Yeah. I'm like, when I was doing that, I was like, it would have been real good in the beginning.
Yeah. So in the beginning, it would have been, all right, so let's take, where is north? North is at the top. Okay, so in the middle, put N, not at the, at the side, because then that confuses left and right.
Yeah.
At the top, put N. So what's, down, the opposite is then south. Okay, so this is your x-axis. So again, today kids were asking me which one's x and which one's y, because they didn't quite get it yesterday. Is that, okay, like the vertical axis is x and y, north and south. Let's put an N at the top and an S at the bottom. Okay? And then the vertical axis, horizontal axis is east and west. Let's label that now, east and west. And that kind of would give them, I'm not guaranteeing they're all going to remember either. Yeah. But at least you have done your best to try and put that in their brains. And instead of putting east at the top of the page, even though that is east on that side, it's at the top. So it's a little confusing.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to put it there just because that's where the numbers were. But
so, and then doing the reference to the coordinates. The other thing I did also like, although it wasn't explained well, is when you did the dashes, the increments.
Yeah.
Say this is 70 and this is 95. So where would 84 be? What would be a good way for us to do that? Let's take that scale and maybe just blown it up on the camera and said, okay, I need to estimate which is halfway. Okay, and then what would halfway be in numbers? It would be like 7.5. Okay, well, so this would be, let's say 70s plus 7.5 would be 77.5. Okay, and then do it that way. So the increments.
So it's more even.
Right.
That's the one thing because we were talking about dashes and I was like, these are not going to be even.
No. And then
I was like,
So that just gives the kids a reference point, and you're showing them exactly what they want them to do. So when you go and you make that reference later on, okay, now we're doing it down here. How many points are here? The kids will almost do it automatically, and you don't have to spend the whole time doing it. But if they haven't done it before,
and I don't know why that was something I didn't even think about doing really. Was like because I looked at that map for like a day, and I never thought about making dash points until I came in, and I was like. Those would have been really helpful for them. The
other thing too about, and this is just maps things, and these are map skills that they're learning, is that maps are not straight, especially the one that you use. It's slightly curved, which means so are the latitude and the lines. So even though yes, we're using those, if they were to be accurate, you'd have to remember to curve that line slightly. Which is another lesson about the curvature of the earth and why maps are not completely
I didn't know if we were going to be like ready for that. Yeah. And that's why I chose the map that I did because it wasn't
quite as much curved.
Because there were some that were, and I was like, I don't know.
So so you almost have to do a coordinate lesson in and of itself, and then do this. But since we've already done kind of a coordinate lesson, the assumption that the least base knowledge was there is fine. You just may have needed a little bit more review.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So those were the major things that I would have changed from yesterday's lesson. But they were a lot more engaged yesterday.
Yeah.
They were much more into it, even though it took a whole entire hour.
Seriously.
They
I was
were,
like getting nervous because I was like,
they were engaged for the whole hour.
Lose it.
we lost it after half an hour.
Yeah.
Now, granted, some of that has to do with the fact that they were testing for an hour and a half today, required to be engaged on task and quiet for that whole entire time. So coming back from recess, they weren't quite as mentally ready as they were yesterday. But as a teacher, you have to say that's too bad. We're still going to go move on.
Yeah.
But it also just gives you a reason. So knowing that in the back of your mind, going, okay, I know this. I need to modify this a little bit more, or we need to stay in our seats a little bit more. We need to be much more clear because they're not going to do it on their own when they normally would have.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that was part of my thing today that I was like, I know this is going to be harder today, but at the same time, I was like, what are the steps? You know, like I was trying to run through my brain, like, okay, what are we going to have to do different, or at least more intense and
Yeah.
And I didn't.
And so, I mean, like I said, that's just experience and getting to know the kids. And you prepared well. So that, I mean, you knew what you were talking about and you knew what was in front of you. You just need to, like, okay, now how do we take that information and deliver it to the kids in a way that they're ready for it?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And I would love to talk about the bellway. So we need to